Good morning, children. I welcome you all to K-Tech High School and Junior College. Children, today we will be studying a new poem of our Unit 2, and the name of the poem is The Silver House by John Lee. So, children, first we will recite the poem. Everybody, open your textbooks to page number 38. Let's start. The Silver House by John Lee. There's a silver house in the lovely sky, as round as a silver crown. It takes 2 weeks to build it up and 2 to pull it down. There's a man who lives in the silver house in a lonely sort of way, but what his name is no one knows or no one likes to say. Yet when you go to bed tonight, just draw the window blind and peep out at the silver moon, this lonely man to find. But if his house is taken down and all the sky is bare, then go to bed because, of course, the poor man won't be there. There's a silver house in the lovely sky. Now, children, do you all know about which silver house the poet is talking? Yes? Yes, the poet is speaking about the moon. He is telling us in the first stanza that there is a silver house in the lovely sky. As you all can see in the picture, the moon looks so beautiful and the color that seems is silver. And the poet is telling us that this is the silver house that we see in the beautiful sky. And the shape of the moon is round, just like a silver crown. Now, children, what is the meaning of the word crown over here? Crown is a coin that people used to use in England, and this is how the crown looks like. So, the poet is telling us that the moon, the shape of the moon is just round. It is so round, just like this crown, which means like this coin. And it takes 2 weeks to build it up and 2 to pull it down. Now, we all know that the shape of the moon every day decreases, right? Like it is full, then it comes towards half, 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 and then there is no moon, right? So that's what the poet is telling us in this stanza, that it takes 2 weeks to build it up, which means from small, 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 after 2 weeks we can see full moon, and after 2 weeks there is no moon. So in 2 weeks the structure of the moon changes. And these phases, when the moon changes its shape, which means it doesn't change its shape actually, but we can see the change in shape from Earth, this is also called as lunar phases. Now, students, over here, what happens? Moon is not a star. So moon doesn't emit light itself. It doesn't have its own light. Instead, the light that falls from the sun on the moon, because of which the part of that moon shines. So, the part of the moon that we can see from the earth is actually the rays, the light is falling of the sun on that area, and hence we can see that area brighter. But the moon doesn't change its shape physically. The only reason behind this is that the moon rotates around the earth, and this is the reason because of which some of the part of the moon gets sunlight, which means the light of the sun falls on it, and the rest is darker and we cannot see that part because the light doesn't fall on it. Hence, due to this rotation, what happens? The phase is created, and this is the lunar phase. Over here, what happens? See, when sunlight doesn't fall on the whole part of the moon, then we have new moon, or we also call it as no moon. So we cannot see moon at that night. Then, as the moon rotates, after some days, we get to see crescent moon, which means we can see half of the half portion of the moon as bright and shining. After crescent moon, we have half moon. So after some days, we can see half moon in the sky, shining brightly. And then finally, we can see full moon, which means a whole circle, round circle in the sky. So we can see the full moon in the sky. And now this whole process takes 2 weeks, and hence the poet is telling us that it takes 2 weeks to build it up and 2 to pull it down, which means from new moon we can see full moon, and this process takes 2 weeks, and from full moon again we can see no moon, and this process also takes 2 weeks. There's a man who lives in the silver house in a lonely sort of way, but what his name is, no one knows, or no one likes to say. Now, children, the poet is telling us that there is a man who lives in the moon, but no one knows his name, and he is sort of lonely, which means he lives alone and no one knows his name and nobody likes to say. Now, children, it's an imaginary poem, and over here the poet is telling us that a a man is living on the moon, but this man is very lonely, so he lives alone on the moon, and nobody knows his name, what his name is, and no one likes to even say. That's what the poet is telling us. Yet when you go to bed tonight, just draw the window blind and peep out at the silver moon, this lonely man to find. So, children, the poet is telling us that whenever we go to bed, just draw the window blind, which means take away all the curtains and open the window and you will see moon. So peep outside the window, look at the silver moon. Hope that you can find that lonely person, that lonely man. So that's what the poet is telling us. The poet is telling us that if you want to see that lonely man who lives on the moon, whenever you go to sleep, peep outside the window, look at the moon carefully. Maybe that you can see that lonely man. So that's what the poet is telling us. But if his house is taken down and all the sky is bare, then go to bed, because of course the poor man won't be there. Now, children, the poet is telling us that if you try to find that person when there is no moon, so you won't be able to find, as there is no moon, the sky is bare. There are only stars but no moon. So if you want to see that man, then you have to look at the moon. But when there is no moon or new moon, then you won't be able to see or find him. That's what the poet wanted to explain us in this poem. Hope students you all understood the poem that is based on moon, the beautiful poem based on moon. Students, now I take a leave from you all. Bye bye, thank you, and have a nice day ahead.